Welcome to another Star Rail DPS Showdown. This time, we've got a battle foreseen by the Omniscia, Quantum versus Quantum. With one win under her belt already, please welcome the Divination Commission's Employee of the Month, Qingque. She's got a stellar 69-181 crit ratio, rocking King Yuan's signature light cone, pretty much max trace investment, 4-piece Quantum, 2-piece Salsodo, crit rate body, attack percent boots, Quantum orb, and attack percent rope. She's also at E6. Today's challenger is none other than the butterfly girl herself, Seele. She's also got a pretty solid crit ratio of 81-176. She's got her own signature light cone and pretty much max trace investment as well. 4-piece Quantum, 2-piece Salsodo with a crit rate body, attack percent boots, Quantum orb, and attack percent rope. She's at E0. Today's battle will be taking place in the first half of Memory of Chaos 10, and I'll be doing 10 attempts for each. I'll be taking the lowest cycle clear, and if there are multiple, I'll only pick one. Just in case, I did try both attack and speed boots on Qingque, and since my best runs were with attack boots, that's what I'll be going with. I'm happy to say this is as balanced as I can get it. They're sharing mostly the same relics, and they'll be using the same teams. Speaking of which, they're both able to make great use of the same supports, so let's go through them quickly. Fushuan is a godsend for these showdowns, and I'll probably be using her moving forward. She's at E0 S1. Not only does she keep the team alive with no problems, she also gives a crit rate buff, which really just removes a lot of the outlier runs that I have to do, but yeah, she is amazing. Tingyun is our dedicated hypercarry buffer. She's on Memories of the Past, but you can just use Meshing Cogs to have pretty much the same effect. With an ER rope and Von Whack, she gets a 3-turn alt rotation. I also gave her a lot of speed, so she can generate more skill points for our needy Quantum DPSs. Pella's here as our dedicated defense shredder on a pretty awesome 2-turn alt build. She's also rocking the wind set, which gives her a lot more actions. She does have an effect hit rate body, which is completely overkill, but I've made it a point to make sure she does pretty much no damage. Before we begin, I want to let you know that I've put together some fun infographics at the end, like team damage distribution, skill point consumption, and more. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you do enjoy the video. We're closing in on 20k and I'd really appreciate it. Finally, these videos are created for your entertainment first and foremost, and although I try my best to balance the matchups, they aren't meant to prove one character is better than the other. Of course, you're always free to make your own conclusions. With all of that out of the way, let's see who will come out on top. Miss Qingquelian damage or Seele. Let's get on with the show. We're going to start the battle right away with using Tingyun's ult. This way she gets her energy regen when her turn starts and we don't waste any. Doesn't really matter too much here, but I do want to try to min-max where I can. I opt to use my basic attack here on Pella, because I know she's going to get enough energy from the fishes hitting her. That way we get our important defense reduction before Qingque's turn starts. Now you can see Tingyun gets her second action before Qingque even gets her first, and this was by design, so we can start Qingque's turn with 5 skill points just in case we needed it. She gets her 4 of a kind pretty early, so just enjoy the damage. I also want to point out that if Qingque doesn't get her E4 proc, she actually wouldn't be able to zero cycle this first wave, but she does, and we managed to take it down no problem. It's time to see if Seele can match that. We're going to use the same strategy, Tingyun ult right off the bat, then we're going to buff her up. Now you might think it's odd that I'm attacking the Trotter here, but just hang on. We're going to use our skill on the Ascendant here, and our first actual turn comes before the Ascendant. We can pick off the weak fish as well and start stacking those defense reductions. And just like that, we're pretty much at full energy already. I could have Pella ulted before Fushuan's basic, but I'm not going to stress over that little detail. The important thing is applying it before Seele's ult, and that should be enough for it to take down the Ascended. The rest of this wave is pretty much a wrap. We can be really efficient with skill points. even use a buff on Tingyun, help her get some energy back, and then finishing it off with a Seele basic. Come on, that was a pretty clean transition. You probably didn't even notice it was back to Qingque, but here we are. We're gonna ult on Tingyun. She'll have full energy. Do have to wait a bit for her turn, but that's okay. Let's see how her rolls go. We do get her E4 and 3 stacks of her damage buff. The reason I ult before I use my enhanced basic is because she gets an attack percent bonus whenever she's in her hidden hand state when she gets a 4 of a kind. That's why we're going to ult first. And we know we're going to have enough skill points on her next turn to keep rolling. That way we can stack the damage buff. For maximizing Qingque's damage, it's worth throwing away your free 4 of a kind from your ult and going for more rolls the next turn. I do talk a lot more about advanced tricks with Qingque in my ultimate Qingque guide, so make sure to check that out if you're interested. We actually get pretty unlucky here and get our 4 of a kind in 1 roll, so only 1 stack of our damage buff. If we use 3 rolls and hit our E4, we probably could have 0 cycled, but that's okay. We're not going to keep fishing for good luck. The rest of this is pretty straightforward. We're just going to wait for Qingque's turn before ending it. We can use Tingyun's ult here just to be safe, but this is pretty much over since Qingque is going to get her turn after. We get our 4 of a kind, but we also have our ult. We also have a Fushuan ult. After defeating the Trotter, we also get energy from Pela's E1, but we don't need it. We're just going to end it here. 1 cycle is definitely a tough act to follow, but let's see what Seele can do. After using Tingyun's ult, 4-piece hacker space actually lets Seele go before the Ascended and the Silvermane Lieutenant. We're going to target him down, and this also puts her in the buff state, so we're able to take down the Trotter as well, gives us Resurgence, and big damage on the Lieutenant again. Let's take a quick moment to appreciate how good Fushuan is at solo sustaining. She made my life so much easier in these runs. Not a single character was downed, and even when I used Luocha, occasionally they just target 1 character and they fall. I'm looking at you, Tingyun, but with Fushuan, that never happens. Also, her animations look so good. Thanks to Quantum Weakness Break, we're able to finish off the Lieutenant here and get our ult. Pela's got enough to apply her defense shred as well, so we want to use that first. We hit her with the massive nuke, but still not enough to 0 cycle here. We're going to need another wave. It was pretty close though, similarly to Qingque, but shouldn't be a problem closing it out. We do have the Trotter spawning as well with the additional wave. I try to target it down, but it doesn't take extra damage from skills. It's only taking extra damage from basics and ults. Just to be on the safe side, we're going to skill on Pela in case we don't have enough energy. This way she can reapply her defense shred. We also have enough energy to ult on Tingyun, give it to Seele, and 1 more ult should do the trick. Going in for the final blow here. And there you have it. Well, for the first time ever in a DPS showdown, we have a draw. Of the runs I did, both Qingque and Seele completed it in 1 cycle 4 times. Seele managed to 2 cycle the rest of her runs, and Qingque actually had 1 run go into 3 cycles, but the rest were also 2. As promised, I put together some of the interesting battle stats, so let's take a look. Both of them took 1 cycle to clear, but we do see some differences that really highlight their playstyles. Thanks to Seele's raw speed, she was able to take 6 turns where Qingque only took 4. Interestingly enough, they both generated 4 skill points. Seele was able to capitalize on picking off weaker targets, and Qingque got 1 each time she fired off an enhanced basic attack, thanks to her E6. Now I will say, we're definitely in excess of skill points for both runs, which didn't impact Seele's performance, but it could potentially for Qingque. Each cast of her skill is an additional 40% damage bonus, capping at 4 stacks. And we average 1.75 skill uses per turn, when we'd be expecting 2 to 3. So, while she was able to get her 4 of a kind early every turn, it would have been more ideal if she could use more skill points. That being said, she was slightly luckier than expected with her E4, getting it 3 out of 4 turns. Highest hit just shows the most damage they did in a single turn, not including any of the trotters or fishes. Looking at the damage distribution for Qingque's run, we can see that she herself was able to output over 1 million damage. This was 84.4% of the team's total, which makes sense since these are both hypercarry comps. Switching over to Seele's, we can see pretty similar results. She's also at over 1 million damage and 81% of the team's total. The Trotter actually did twice as much damage as it did in Qingque's, but this is only because Qingque is able to wipe out the first wave of enemies with her ult. This is a chart that shows their damage per turn, not including damage from external sources. Qingque did over half of her total on turn 1. It definitely drops off a bit, but this is mostly just the way the fight was designed, with 5 enemies spawning in at the start. Seele, although having less burst windows, was fairly consistent the whole way through, and this really just shows the differences between characters that are single target oriented and AoE. I'll be saving all these infographics for DPS showdowns and then uploading them to my Discord server, which I'm still setting up, but once it's ready I'll make the announcement. I also want to say that we are prone to human error since I did manually enter all the info. I did double check and review all the calculations, so it should be accurate, but it is possible. I'd love to hear your feedback since I'm always trying to make improvements. Right now, I'm mostly comparing characters at the peak of their non-wheeled performance. It does take me quite a bit of time to prepare and actually do the runs, collect data, but I do enjoy it. Let me know what you think of the infographics, and if there are any stats you want to see included, make sure to comment them down as well. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Make sure to check out my Twitch as well at twitch.tv/artumbo, and I will see you next time.